Is Reese, and this is a quick little overview of the Accelo ticketing module. Tickets are a great way in Accelo to handle smaller ad hoc work that is far more sporadic, that does not conform to a larger project. These are generally used by maybe end of project support or perhaps ongoing support of a particular client. Now, the great thing about tickets is there's many ways to actually create them. Now, I could create a ticket on behalf of a client by going to the create option here and going ticket. But wherever I see an email correspondence inside Accelo, I can actually choose to convert that email into a ticket. So if someone simply sends me a question that's going to require me to perhaps to do some billable work from that question, I can select the ellipses here and convert to ticket in the same way that I can convert a new inquiry into a sale and start handling it better in that module. There's also an argument that this is a great use of the requests inbox function, which enables you to have a more standardized email, such as help at, for instance, that can collect all those general assistant inquiries and enable multiple people to view that inbox here in Accelo and convert things into tickets where and when needed. When you do convert an activity, an email, into a ticket, it takes the subject line of the actual email, the description of that email, and pre-fills the ticket with a lot of that information, enabling you to pretty much be halfway there to actually setting up that ticket. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take us from scratch, where I'm going to go here to create ticket, where you'll be presented with the standard add function of Accelo, where the first priority is giving your ticket a name. Help with login information. You'll then actually choose to associate this to a company. Now, like most areas in the system where you can actually fill in a company, you can also create a company there if they're not already in the system. The ticket will pre-assign to the primary contact, but if there are other contacts, perhaps a different staff member has placed this request, you can choose who to associate this ticket to. We then have the status option here. Note that if you did have multiple types of tickets, you'll also have that option to select type, which will choose how you actually handle that ticket by default. Status is just the starting status for this ticket. For instance, if you have a review period or maybe a waiting room where all your tickets actually go before they are reviewed by a person and then moved through to a working state, you may actually choose to start it in that waiting room or push it through to an active state so work can commence immediately. You then have things such as class. Now, class can be your own categories of work, enabling you to look at reporting later down the track and see how many particular tickets by class you've actually handled. So let's go here and say that this is a document management scenario. And then one of the linchpins of tickets is, of course, priority. When you potentially have a scenario where you have hundreds of tickets you need to manage within your account, it's very important to know how you prioritize certain tickets above others. You can actually use the default priority metrics that are here, or you can actually choose to rename these priorities and add your own grading system here as well. Now, in this particular demo build, we're using custom IDs. That means that we get to choose the ID associated with this particular object. So I'm just going to give this a unique code, noting that by default, you won't have to actually select an ID. Accelo will pre-assign an ID from a cycling number. Moving across, we have ticket details. Now, in this scenario, we actually have the ticket details that are using some merge fields where they'll grab information such as the contact name and the number and pre-fill this in here. You can actually choose to write whatever you would like in this details. Now, this description area is where the body of the email would be pre-filled as well. Bob has lost all their staff login information, needs access to our backup. Fantastic. We have an assignee here. Now, of course, you can create tickets where they are unassigned, so that perhaps once the ticket's created and someone's had a chance to review the actual needs, they can actually be delegated to the correct user. But of course, you can assign one here by default. Now, deadlines and dates, such as start dates, these can be pre-filled or can be selected manually. In this scenario, we have something that looks like it's about 14 days as a default. And then we have our budget for the actual ticket. Is this, if this ticket is non-billable work, things you're choosing to not charge for, but you want to just organize all the work, you can actually switch that to non-billable. And then if you like, you can actually just select a budget as far as time is concerned. How long do you think it's going to take to actually complete this work? But of course, if it is billable, you can actually choose whether this is going to be a fixed value. This particular work we've negotiated is going to be $500. We can also ensure here that it's calculated, where it takes the expected budget or the actual time that's been rendered on the ticket and charges it out at a negotiated rate here. Moving across, we have the custom fields. This is where if you have bespoke fields that you need to record on tickets that you're creating, such as access codes for getting into a premise, these particular bits of information, whatever your business might need, you can choose to create them and have them available on Create to be presented with them there. If there are any attachments such as files, images, references you need to actually start this work, you can choose to add the attachments from here as well. But let's create this ticket and have a look at the ticket overview page. Understand that you can make tickets completely your own, in that the system by default calls them tickets, but they could be issues, they could be many other different things. You could rename it to better suit your company. And what we've actually got here is a custom progression. So on the creation of a ticket, we've got our system automatically creating an email prompt to email the client and give them a breakdown of exactly what's happened, that the ticket's been received, that we're going to start working on it, and I have the option to adjust this, add further flavor, or I could actually choose to skip it entirely. And because this email is invalid, I'm just going to choose to skip. So here we are at the ticket overview page. Now we get our standard overview of the associations on the left, where we see what company this is associated to. We see the assignee information, priority, and the class. We can also choose to add team members here. For instance, if I'm going to need someone on our team or a third party to actually assist with this, I'm hoping there's someone here, I can actually choose to associate them in as a team member. And let's say that this is a vendor or a partner, someone we're working with to resolve this with the client. We can give a description of the relationship. And we can also choose to automatically have them CC'd on email correspondence from this ticket. And by building your team, you'll actually be able to have a good overview of exactly who's working on this and can easily send emails to everyone that's associated to the actual ticket. We then have the ability to create bookings, which is scheduling for the ticket. We also have here key dates, such as created, submitted, opened, due dates, etc. And we get an overview of the budget, remembering that we set the budget on creation. It's showing that we have 0 minutes towards our 1 hour budget, and at the $100 an hour scenario here, that we've used $0 of that $100 budget. With materials not being associated here, materials being items, things, gadgets or widgets you're selling, as well as your time, but that can obviously change. Now here we have some breakdowns of the ticket age, when was the last time work was done, when was the last company contact from the third party, and the countdown to the due date here as well. We get an overview of any of my upcoming work, but of course we can break that down to all upcoming work as well, and we can create tasks for people to do work directly from here as well. Our stream shows us a history of all the communications, the notes, the movements of this ticket as it happens. We can get a breakdown of the budget and work, which is just essentially greater detail than what we would see here on the side. Attach files, any items, expenses being accrued to the actual ticket, any of the invoices raised or even purchase orders raised to complete this ticket will be found in the billing tab here. And also sign-offs, where you can actually create essentially an approval function that works similar to the quote or proposal function of Accelo, where the client is provided a email, they follow that, the link inside the email, they're presented with a description of the variations they need to actually approve or the things they need to sign off on, and they provide a digital signature of what they actually need to approve for things to move forward. We also have linked assets. If you're using assets in your company, this means that if that company has things associated against their record, such as perhaps logins or passwords, etc., you can choose to link those assets to the actual ticket. And of course, a breakdown of the tasks that have been created and the work rendered against them. Coming to the top of the actual ticket, we have the driving force of keeping things on track, which is our progression bar up here. Now, this means that we can move from the open status to multiple different statuses using a progression here. Now, we might choose that it goes straight from open to resolve after I email them exactly what they need and get the job done, and I can resolve this ticket. But perhaps we've sent some questions to the client and we need their confirmation before proceeding. We may choose to move this to a waiting status. So we can see that we've done everything we can and we're now waiting on another factor. By moving this progression, we've got some automation that's been set up here, and it's asking what the waiting reason is. So I can actually tell this ticket that it's waiting on a third party, it's waiting on us, or it's waiting on the client. In this instance, we're waiting on the client. And now that means when I'm viewing this ticket in a list of perhaps hundreds, I can actually see that it's waiting, that it's the urgency is not in our hands, and I can always come back to this if there hasn't been any results after some time. Now, if we get that result and we want to resume work, of course, we can go from here. If the results mean that we can straight away resolve the actual ticket, we can go here. And this provides us where we have to create a summary of the work that was done. And perhaps a reason. And these particular fields can be used to actually provide better reporting as far as what type of resolutions that were actually achieved. And even with the work completed summary can be provided as information on invoices for work rendered as well. This also moves through to a bespoke automation we've got set up here, which is wanting to send a confirmation of ticket being complete email, where it's automatically CC'd in our other team member there, as well as the client. Hopefully that gives you a breakdown of how you can handle a lot of the work required that is more ad hoc and more agile, and how you can actually use the ticketing module to better maintain a lot of those smaller threads of billable and non-billable work for clients. Thank you very much.